students, so here we are with the question first of exercise 1.3. So the question first is, prove that root 5 is irrational. Whenever such question comes, we solve it by contradiction method. Now the question arises what the contradiction method is. So in order to understand what the contradiction method is, we will write first the statement, assume root 5 is rational. Which means that contradiction method says we will assume the things opposite to what have been asked in the question. As in question, it has been asked that we need to prove root 5 is irrational. So in order to solve this question, we will assume that root 5 is rational, opposite to what have been asked in the question. This is what contradiction method is. And as we know, for the number to be rational, it can be expressed by the form P by Q, where P and Q are some integers and HCF of P and Q will be equal to 1. That is, P and Q are co-prime numbers. This is what the definition of the rational number says. Now, for the root 5 to be rational, root 5 will be equal to P by Q. Taking square on both the sides, 5 will be equal to P square by Q square, or 5Q square will be equal to P square. Let us mark the statement as 1. So now it is clearly seen that 5 is a factor of P square. Now here, if we remember the uniqueness of the fundamental theory of arithmetic, what it says that if A divides P square, then A will definitely divide P as well. What it means is that if we implement over here 5 is a factor of P square, then 5 should also divide P. This is what the fundamental theory of arithmetic says. Now let us mark this as 2. And now from 2 we can write that 5 is equals to, P, as P is a multiple of 5, so we can write P as P is equals to 5m. Now taking square on both the sides, 5 square will be equal to 25m square. Now put 3 in 1. Putting 3 in 1, what we will obtain that 5q square will be equal to 25m square. And cancelling out the common terms, we will be left with q square will be equal to 5m square. From this, we can say that 5 is a factor of q square. Again, applying the fundamental theory of arithmetic, we can say that 5 is a factor of q as well. Let us mark as this 4. From 3 and 4, 5 is a factor of P as well as Q. Right? From this statement and this statement, we can write that 5 is a factor of P and Q. And if we observe this, root 5 is equal to P by Q, which means that it will be somewhat like this. Right? As 5 is a factor of P and 5 is a factor of Q, which means P can be written as 5 into P1 and 5 into Q1, as Q, where P1 and P1 and Q1 be some positive integers, which will lead to the HCF not equal to 1, which means the condition for the number to be rational has not been satisfied from this. So this will ultimately mean that root 5 is irrational number, because the condition of the HCF, because HCF is not equal to 1, which will lead to the P and Q numbers no longer co-prime numbers, which is the condition for the number to be rational. So this was all about the question first, that how to prove that root 5 is irrational number. I hope this question is clear to all of you.